Hey guys, it's me, EODGamer here, and in this video, we're going to be taking a look at some of the meta teams in CBTs in 1, 2, and 3. We played all 3, all the way to the endgame content. I want to talk about some meta teams. Now, one big caveat is history in the CBTs don't really equate to what is going to come out in future. It might or might not differ, but generally the concepts and the reasons why certain teams became meta, we can definitely cross-infer that and apply that to a lot of team compositions that come out once official launch. So in this video, I'm going to give you just the what I have observed. Again, if you guys played the betas and you have many different ideas, do leave it in the comments below. I think it will help us all learn and grow together. But in this video, I want to just talk about a few. Let's just give the main ones that really dominated the meta, and I'll explain why. First of all, let's start off with a very simple character, of course. Ellen was very predominant, kind of like because she's the character that they want to sell. So why is she so good? She does a lot of ice application. She is very strong. She has very good on-field, very fast, good mobility, has ability to crowd control by freezing enemies, and plays into a lot of characters, especially when you are just starting out the game, who are like free, generally affordable, to give you that freeze application that you get to. So most people, from what we are seeing in the early part of the game, were playing a very simple composition, and I did too for a large part. It's Ellen. You have characters like Aokaku, or is it Sokaku, depending on whether they change the name. They keep changing the names during the CBTs. And of course, Lycan in the third slot. Now, how the team compositions generally work is you have always one on-field DPS that you really like. This is the character that you are mainly pulling for, or you are like super driven to go. Your pivot slot tends to be your support, or the character that you don't really want to stay on for too long. It's just there to buff your team, provide some elemental application, or just be there to tank a bit of damage if the boss is going through out or something. So your pivot slot is generally not too much fail time. Your synergy slot here, and synergy is not as it's a bit counterintuitive, because synergy needs to function when your DPS doesn't want to fight. So what do I mean by that is, if you have generally a squishier character here who doesn't take too much damage very well, is very immobile, very slow, for example a character like Koleda maybe, you want a character in the synergy slot who's faster, who's fighting and able to handle the boss when they are not stunned or not broken. So a character like Ellen is an attack class which doesn't offer too much stun build up on the enemy. Lycan is a stun class who offers a lot of stagger build up on the enemy, stun build up on the enemy, helping you make them into their vulnerable state so that your DPS here, Ellen, can do a lot more damage. That's how the core synergy team composition works in Zenless Zone Zero. Now, some of you I have been asking on other videos, is mono team compositions the way to go? Is it the meta? Is it actually the way to go forward? The answer is no, because this was the meta before CBT 3, because Disorder wasn't introduced until CBT 3. So a bit of history lessons here and how it will change the meta. So Disorder occurs when you have one character dealing a particular type, you freeze the enemies, and let's say you have another character that comes in over here. Let's just take out Sokaku here just for a while, and let's say you have Grace, who's excellent at applying anomaly build up for electro lightning damage, and then what's going to happen, you're going to hit this additional damage called Disorder, which is on top of whatever damage that you're doing. This is a game changer because it kind of promotes a hybrid mono comp that allows you to play maybe into a slight flexible comp. But for now, I think Disorder in the CBT 3s weren't super meta, because you only have one anomaly character. And for those of you who don't know, like, what is anomaly, what's all these stun characters, we have many other videos on the channel, but I'll give you a TLDR, simple thing, because I want you guys to absorb as much as you can. Anomaly is basically, for those of you who play Genshin Impact, it's an elemental mastery kind of thing where you're building up more damage the more anomaly you have. Or if you're playing Genshin Impact, it's like increasing, or playing Honkai Star Rail, it's like increasing weakness break efficiency, so you can break their bars faster. Anomaly helps you proc the special status effects quicker. If you're playing Pokemon, it's like you poison the enemy, toxic the enemy, they get poisoned quicker, and if you have more poison chance, they get poisoned more quickly. Kind of like something like that along those lines. That is just a very simple way of explaining anomaly. If you want more information, we have it on our channel already that you can take a look. So that is the Disorder differences. But now let's go into the second meta comp that I found that is like super interesting. So ice teams were quite popular. But before maybe we go into other teams, let me tell you the one that I found a lot of joy playing, and that is a hybrid comp. And this comp that you see on screen, this is my personal one that I use to clear the endgame content. with Grace, with Ellen, and I think it was Lycan or Rena, either one of these two. So why are these like really, really strong is because you are able to proc very good amounts of stagger. You have good quick swap here, allowing you to proc a lot of the benefits that you will see in the Hollow Zero. It's like a simulated universe, kind of roguelike mechanics where you get as much buff as you can. So the more you dodge, the more buffs that you can kind of take, and they are quite OP buffs, which we'll talk about once the game goes live and we have access to all the updated buffs that you can pick. I will share with you like a cheat strategy, what I actually used and really use very often to abuse and push all the way to the end very, very quickly. If you guys are interested, I already have a live video. It's quite long, of the entire full clear of how I cheese with very, very low characters and what are the best buffs to pick. But again, once it goes live, things change. But we are here for a bit of knowledge so we can prepare in advance and prepare beforehand so we don't make like terrible mistakes along the way. So that is one angle of how I played it. The other meta team, if you don't want to pull Ellen at all, because I know not everyone cares about the first character that comes up, maybe you care about another character. Let's talk about a relatively cheap build to play. Something that was super popular in the CBT 2. CBT 3 became less popular, I'll explain why, but something that was super popular in the CBT 2 was actually this team over here that you see. This is a team of Billy, Nekomata, as well as Corin. Now, previously, they weren't broken down into the attack, anomaly, stun, defense, and support yet, but what this team focuses on is triggering the physical anomaly, which is assault, which deals a lot of damage, and all you just need to do was hit physical damage a good amount of time, which is very easily done with these three characters. The only problem with this is most of the time these characters you have to be very good at dodging, so a lot of people do rely on Billy to get that range. Corin here has a lot of channeling, slow attacking skills, which is better when the enemy is stunned or down. Nekomata, of course, is ideal when the enemy is like on field, like not down or down. So this was a huge cheese back in CBT 2. A lot of people are playing the assault kind of build where you're focusing on anomaly based damage, and it's relatively cheap because you're playing with 2 4-stars, and this 5-star technically, if you are super dedicated and gung-ho about it, you can reroll until you get Nekomata. Do I think it's still going to be very, very strong? I think we need more anomaly characters to see this last a little bit longer, but this is one way that is like super cheap to play. If you are wondering and you want to test it out, this is one way that you can go. We will update these guides, but the concept here is the same. It's a core pivot synergy that is focusing on doing damage from anomaly based attacks, and for very, very early on, if you are looking at clearing it as quickly as you can, anomaly is basically free damage because crit damage is a lot harder to get. Anomaly is basically like skills off certain fixed stuff, right? So that's the easiest thing to scale off very early on. As we go on, 6 months in, 1 year in, I think a lot of these teams will shift out. But because one thing to remember is CBTs were very, very short-lived. Stuff that dominates CBTs likely will outperform in the first 1 month if you use similar concepts. So that is a team that I wanted to share, a physical-based team that I think was really, really strong. That some of you can consider if you don't care too much about the banner characters. Now, something that wasn't researched as much on is a character like Zhu Yuan together with Nicole, double Aether team. The reason why it's not really focused that much is firstly, Zhu Yuan didn't really have too much involvement. She wasn't guaranteed. You had to basically RNG to get her in the CBT 3. For ourselves also, we didn't push towards the end. So data on this character is very, very limited. If we see more in the live section, I'll be able to make a better conclusion what is her meta team. Do I think she's good or not? I think she would have been better if she was Anomaly. But I think overall she's still a pretty good DPS. I will reserve my comments on this particular character until I've seen her more in the official launch, because the sample size from CBT 3, given she wasn't guaranteed, is very, very low. Ellen, on the other hand, was very easily obtainable in CBT 3 and 2, so she appeared twice. So there's a lot more stats and details about that character. So that's just a huge caveat I want to talk about. But in theory, these two characters are going to be strong together, Nicole as well as Zhu Yuan. If you're interested in my thoughts on which characters are better scaling into the future, we have a video of that, good investment value characters tier list as well. Check all that video out. The last team that I want to talk about, I think, is a team that I personally played a lot in the CBT 3, and I found it very, very useful, very flexible, and that is an Anton main DPS. Sorry for being like super pixelated and stuff, but this is the team composition that I personally ran a lot. I will give you an option. You can either play with Grace or you can play with Rena in the second slot, depending on who's like your favorite character and whatnot. I find that this team was super strong for pure elemental basis is because Anton, great attack, but he has a very slow wind up time. The one thing that you need to make him pop off is actually to make unbe your core, playing with unbe most of the time until they are stunned, they are down, and then you swap into Anton and run his whole attack strings. Very, very strong 4-star DPS. If any of you who are looking to pick up maybe a support 5-star, can consider running Anton as your main DPS. If I likely will probably play with Anton if I will be a pure free-to-play account as my main DPS for a while until I find a character that I like, if I don't like Alan or Zhu Yuan. So that's like something that I want to mention as well. So you have a character that stuns when the enemy is active. Her attack strings are short, very good for dodging, so it works really well with enemies that attack very fast, they're active, they haven't been stunned. Anton's slower, does a lot of damage, a lot of AoE as well, so you can pick up a lot of small mobs on the side. Great at quick swapping in just for a quick burst in an AoE fashion because he slams on the ground, slam dunks on the ground kind of thing. So very, very strong tool. Wants to hit the enemy when they are already broken. That's my opinion. And your pivot slot here, Grace, is like super good because she's only taking up very small amounts of field time, helping you shock the enemy a bit more. When they are machine, they are shock, or you can of course switch Anton in to fight faster because they have a bit of stagger on them with that shock debuff. Just a slight one, it used to be a bit more, but still is pretty strong. Rina, on the other hand, is a bit more long distance, so if you needed more range, you are still trying to learn mechanics, Rina does offer you that flexibility of getting in and out of fights without having to rely on quick dodging kind of thing all of the time by utilizing your mobility around the map. So these are some comps that I think are really, really strong in the CBTs. And if you are interested to know my thoughts on the team compositions of how to play any of these characters, I'll be doing more detailed guides on these particular units on the channel. You can stay tuned for that. If you're preparing for your CBTs, check out the other videos we have on our channel. I think it's going to be very, very good help for you, at least to make sure you're guided on the right path. We will all develop our own playstyles later on in a game that is so open-minded as Zenless Zone Zero because it's like 3D. But if you found this video helpful, do like, comment, subscribe for more of such future content. We can always share ideas. Let me know in the comment section what you think. Happy to bounce around with you guys too. And see you in Zenless Zone Zero. Super excited.